My name is Leighton Radner, and I am joined here by some usual suspects, along with a new face to the channel. We're going to go ahead and let everybody intro each other, as usual, starting with CD, and you can go down on the line. And you go ahead.
Hey guys, CD McCrae. I'm at Lady ANCAP on Twitter. Go follow me there. And excited to be here tonight to talk about the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
What's that?
So,
Joke.
you go ahead, Josh.
So I'm only going to be here for a little bit tonight, guys. Unfortunately, I got to bounce in a little while to get some stuff done. But I'm Josh Lofka, state organizer in Florida for the Mises Caucus, and you may hear some fun things out of me before we're done tonight.
Hello, and
everyone.
Patrick was the first one in the chat.
Pat, always loyal to all of us.
Mitch, you go ahead. You are new to the show, so you can give yourself a whole spiel.
All right, so this is basically my cell for the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Mitch Connor. You can find me on Twitter at MitchConnorJlo. If you get it, if you get the reference, you get the reference. I'm also one of the state organizers for the Mises Caucus down here in Florida, and I am ready to we're going to get into some funny libertarian conversations, because boy, am I ready to get over to Reno.
Yes. All right. So we are also joined by Kareem. You go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm used to 4 people.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. I'm Kareem, state organizer with the Mises Caucus in Pennsylvania. And it's no longer the LPPA, it's the LPMC. So, just want to make that clear. We got the Reno reset going down. You can also find me on YouTube at The Essential Libertarians or Facebook /Kareem Mays. Also, my Twitter handle is Kareem for Liberty.
And you guys all know me. I would hope so. I am Leighton. This is Liberty Leighton on Twitter, all that jazz. We're going to go over here, starting with the topic that Josh is here for a few minutes. Talking about the GOP Mises, the post-libertarians, which I will continue to call them, even though they don't want to be.
I'll be a whole Birdman over here.
And really what I think we're going to break this episode down, and we're just putting this at the front because Josh is here, is really down to the current state of the liberty movement and the current state of the Libertarian Party. But first, we're going to trash these guys, which I think is an easy target at this point. My opinions on the GOP Mises is that they would not exist without the hard work that was laid down first by the Mises Caucus, that it was started almost as a troll because certain members didn't want to work within the caucus anymore. They decided to do their own thing. A lot of it has to do with a little bit of hero worshipping, in my opinion, on their end. But we'll go ahead and let, I think, Josh and the rest of everyone take a shot at it, because I want just your general opinions on how you view GOP Mises at this point.
I mean, we can tie that in with a lot of the other stuff, because I know you got more imagery than that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I for one, am amazed by the GOP Mises. I mean, they're really doing something stunning and brave by creating a liberty caucus of sorts.
Yeah.
Good for them. Totally isn't one of those.
Yep. Definitely doesn't already exist. So I'm going through my Twitter here because I got to find the kind of Spurgfest that went on here. So we will go here. So I'll preface some of these tweets as we go through, because I think some of these are worth kind of going through. But strong words for a caucus that won't defend the right to life of the unborn. Go home, leftists. Don't you have ballot access requirements to worry about or something? So I want to address kind of the general shit talking that goes on between GOP Mises accounts and everybody else, because it really was something amazing just a few days ago. The amount of quote-unquote traction, the whole whopping existence of I believe this got 11 likes or something like that. 11 likes and 5 quote tweets.
They're
you know,
taking over.
Yeah, these people are just dropping hot takes. 9 likes. Yeah, I'm sure things will
They're coming
change when
for
you
us,
get
guys.
elected. So this all sparked, I think, really over the constitutional carry issue, because the GOP Mises people have to be touchy about the subject because Florida wants constitutional carry. It should have constitutional carry. It's one of the reasons why moving there was kind of a challenge for me, was the fact that they didn't have it, because I have a lot of like revolvers and stuff like that that are traditionally open carry firearms. So you simply brought up, Josh, that you're simping for a governor who won't even give you your basic rights. and I think that struck a chord with whoever is behind that account. And we all know who's
Look,
behind that account.
yeah, like you have to understand the GOP Mises Caucus is really like 5 retards in a trench coat. It's Tho, it's Pete, it's Andrew. If you don't know who these people are, you're probably better off. But if you know who I'm referring to, then you obviously know that they don't have big brains. Like, we're not talking about dealing with Mensa candidate types here. Like, none of
No.
them are that smart. And if like they are, some of them are smart, but they're not as smart as they think they are.
Well, it's not just that. It's they're hanging their entire hat on that they're getting some kind of political action done. And that was one of the things that I abruptly pointed out is you're not. I mean, you've done nothing.
They're not,
The GOP Mises group that they have no power, have no influence, they've done nothing. So Bishop has no power, he has no influence, he's not doing anything
It's not even.
Yeah, this
It's
stuff
not even
to
about
me
that.
doesn't like.
I think it is to me, because I think the GOP Mises crowd want to give the Mises Caucus people and the libertarian shit, because their perspective is the Libertarian Party will never be able to do anything to get any control of anything, and they won't be able to get any action done. My point is, the fucking GOP Mises and the paleo quote unquote conservatives haven't gotten anything done either. So it's like, what the fuck are we talking about here?
Well,
Like, we don't have governors, we don't have senators, we don't have those things, neither side. So like, and the difference is one of us is actively trying to build a political party and system that can change that, while the other one is trying to suck on their nuts. Like, to me, there's a difference there.
I mean, like I said, like that's all well and good, but for me, it goes a lot deeper. Is that they use the same type of like flip-floppy, wishy-washy, hypocritical messaging
Right.
that the left uses. It's the same style of messaging. These are the guys that came out, a month and a half, 2 months ago, when the big story in the news was school boards and, group teacher groomings and don't say gay. And they were all like, oh, if DeSantis was our king, we would have them teach Rothbard and Hoppe and Mises in public schools so that these kids understood, all this shit. And I find it funny because, in the same go about now that abortion's the big thing and they're sitting here calling people leftists, is that they're saying that, oh, anybody who would support abortion should be thrown in the wood chipper, same as a pedophile. Well, hey, guys, like, obviously you've never read Rothbard.
Yeah.
Because you'd be throwing him in the wood chipper, considering he had thought of unborn children in the womb as parasites to the mother. And considering Hoppe considered the ethics of liberty to be one of 2 magnus opus for Rothbard, Hoppe basically gave his seal of approval that this was a masterpiece in, economic and liberty theory. Like, so you're going to throw Hoppe and Rothbard, 2 people you just claimed that you would teach children, into the wood chipper because they're abortion apologizers? Like, come on, man.
So,
like, you guys have some weak morals and principles.
And I responded with Republican apologists are as vile as Democrat apologists and deserve the same level of respect, which I thought was a very good response. I was happy with this response.
My question with all these groups
you know.
though, is the Republican, Mises thing, whatever it is, and the cathedral and all these like detractors, I look and there's like a whole 5 of them. So there's going to be opposition to anything. There's going to be opposition to even the best things. Like if you wanted to end all wars now, there'd be 5 people out there. Well, what about the jobs at Raytheon? The people at Raytheon are nice. They're good people. That they should eat too. So there's going to be pushback on anything. I mean, there's people who are in Occupy Democrats who are pro, mandate and all this stuff. So to me, it's just a few people, few fringe people. This is a fringe minority, not to sound like CNN, but these are fringe minorities who are just mad. And we should probably just ignore them.
That's where I'm kind of confounded by the whole GOP Mises thing. It's like the Liberty Caucus exists, and that is probably your greatest argument for why your side would be something. The Thomas Massey types. But if you're not even going to be leaning into that, well, then what do you have other than trying to copy what the Mises Caucus is? I don't know why you would go in a different direction. I mean, have they stated why they're not just affiliating with the Liberty Caucus instead?
They don't want to be affiliated with. They want to build their own thing, most likely because they want to make some form of. Again, I think
money.
Yeah, money.
They think the Liberty
money.
Caucus has been co-opted by rhinos as well. Like that's their thing.
Really?
To say is like, look at all the guys who came in through the Liberty Caucus. Look at what the Tea Party movement had done. Like we don't need a move towards libertarianism. We need a move towards Hobbesianism and Rothbardianism and Republicanism. Like that's the message they're pointing out. Like Leighton, if you can pull up like the latest goofy tweet that Joe threw out there today.
Oh,
we're taking it back. Taking it back.
I have something amazing. I actually had this queued up. Because Jack Lloyd posted this on Facebook, and I went and nabbed it from over there, so I didn't even have to go to his. You talking about this one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, look at this shit. Like, okay. Like, and you got to look at the dates on some of these things. Like, okay, September of last year, and I'm going to guess the one above it was even earlier than that. So the LP can't be saved, blah, blah, blah. The Mises Caucus strategy assumes the work, over Ron DeSantis. Now today he's saying, DeSantis for king. And like, I get confused with these guys. Like, do you not think about what's going to happen when the leftists that you guys are going to like crush under the thumb of your king, overthrow your king and install their own king? Like, what's the leftist king going to look like? If Ron DeSantis is going to, install proper public education and deport all the leftists and nationalize all their land and all this other shit, like, what's going to happen when the leftist king comes? They're going to deport all of you and take all your private property and socialize it all for the greater common good of the people. Like, that same oppressive shit you're looking to do is going to get done right upon to you, and even worse, because fuck you, they can.
Yeah. Although it'll be funny with the QAnon people in camps. Hey, man, this is all part of the plan.
Well, so Patrick brings up a good point here, which is what I mentioned earlier, that, it is kind of a troll against the Mises Caucus from some certain people who didn't want to affiliate with the caucus anymore, thought this was a better way of handling it. And it is what it is, but now we get to laugh at them for being inconsistent, unprincipled pieces of shit. So that's how this works. And this is how we all keep each other in check in the liberty movement, which needs to be happening more prevalently, in my opinion. People need to be calling people out more often.
Oh, yeah.
For
I'm
instance,
not going to lie. I got a nice little social media pop off of them retweeting and trying to call me out for being a piss poor leftist. So,
oh, yeah.
Thanks. I'll grift your followers if I can.
Yeah. And I responded to this one tweet that they put out. With GOP, Mises has no power and makes excuses for someone like DeSantis who does, while individuals in and around the liberty movement attempt to make it a principled force. Making excuses for a politician, keeping rights from the people, sounds like you will fit in well with the GOP. And this is ultimately brings me to the meme that I started the show with, but kind of pulled it out early on, which was, the fact that the way I look at things right now, a lot of this is very much so this. It is post-libertarians not wanting to be involved with the libertarian movement anymore, not getting along with the people anymore, not wanting to do that anymore. And instead of just saying that they're not libertarians no longer or doing that, they decide that they can't go back to being Republicans completely. They have to create their, independent individual kind of movement, which is fine. It is what it is, but I'm still going to laugh at it.
I mean, we're gonna mock it, no doubt. But to be fair, that is just kind of. I feel like that's just kind of how one takes in philosophical ideas.
Right.
You know what I mean? You take
I
in
don't
some of the
disagree
things
with
and
you.
kind of, yeah. But at the same time, their conclusion is pretty asinine.
Yeah, the end conclusion to me doesn't make any sense. For instance, I talk about this sometimes, but just the age of the LP, the age of our political movement in general, the theory is old, the ideas are old. We have this kind of history behind that, but it's not like the Libertarian Party has existed as long as the other two parties. We haven't been doing this as long as they have. We haven't been fighting them for as long as these parties have existed. That comes into play here, where we are in the early stages of the libertarian movement, in my opinion, not the late stages. And the GOP Mises crowd, the Tho crowd, they have a high time preference, and they think that we can get things done quicker than we actually can. And as a result of that, they'll spend resources and garner donor money and do all of that stuff, and in the end, it won't do anything. And they'll have the exact same shitty amount of power as they had when they started to try to glom onto some. Because you can't get power from Democrats and Republicans. That's just the truth. You're not going to get them to give you any power. It's like the Libertarians have been trying to get some form of power in that way politically for a long time. It hasn't worked. No independent third wave political group has ever been able to do that. So it's not like we're any different from anybody else. The idea that the GOP Mises are going to do something with the Republican Party that will actually make a difference, I have yet to see any shred of that. And if they did, I'd be happy as hell, right? I think everybody in this call, if tomorrow a call from Tho Bishop caused there to be a constitutional carry in Florida, I think everybody here would be like, that's awesome, cool. Like, cool, props to you. But
like a phone
let's
call
stop
from Tho
pretending.
Bishop to DeSantis.
But let's stop pretending like that can happen, because it can't. And I feel like that is kind of the argument that's put forward by a lot of these people. Well, we have the ear of these people. We have conversations with these people. No, no one does. There's no conversations going on. There's nothing here of substance. Like, there's nothing anybody can point me to that the GOP Mises crowd, the post-libertarian crowd, have done politically that made a difference for the liberty movement.
They haven't.
There's nothing
All
anybody
they've
can
done
point to.
They've grown a little social media following. They've gotten a little bit of like that weird incel cultist kind of crew to champion all of their messages and parrot whatever they say from their 86 follower account. So I mean, yeah, they've done something, I guess, if you want to call it that. They built more of what they had, which was a big bag of fucking nothing. But I mean, that's what some people want. Some people want the big social media following. It makes them feel good. They like getting all the notifications. They like arguing with people online. Like, this is a guy who's not active in his own county. He's not doing anything to push any candidates. I don't think he's donating any money anywhere outside of, wherever he can see it helping him personally. So, I mean, how can you take a guy like this seriously? He's a GOP guy who, kind of like Sabatini, just complains that, hey, you libertarian guys should come join the GOP because we have a rhino problem and only you can save us. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not here to be your Obi-Wan, bro.
Yeah, Obi-Wan.
But
it's a funny
thanks,
thing.
guys. I got to get running for the night. I appreciate you having me on. I might be back on later, but if not, take care. Have a great night.
Well, we'd love to have Kathy. So. That didn't work.
Okay, so we will come back to this talk, but I want to take a small break to talk a little bit about Dave Chappelle being tackled on stage because it's a funny video to react to. I also have a song that we are going to listen to because we're going to talk a little bit about the Amber Heard stuff, and I thought maybe this song would make you all laugh because I got the morning after show with Justin to watch it this morning, and it went over quite well with them. Somebody sent this to me, and I laughed. I have laughed every time I've heard it. But it is hilarious. I'm gonna play this here, and it'll be good. Okay, so I'm going to share this tab here. We'll give this a listen, and I want you guys to, and then we'll get into the Dave Chappelle stuff. But I thought this would be fun to listen to on the show because it was pretty funny.
I used to be respected, people took me at my word. Then I became a lawyer representing Amber Heard. Objection, hearsay. Oh my God, I don't have a case. Objection, hearsay. Now I'm ashamed to show my face. Well, I'm a famous movie star, yeah, life is always fine. I sit down at my penthouse drinking mega pints of wine. Objection, hearsay. I don't know why we ever wed. Objection, hearsay. Who the hell poops in someone's bed? I object to everything, I may have an infection. Cause I say I object, the judge says that was your own question. Objection, hearsay. Court isn't supposed to be this hard. Objection, hearsay. How did I ever pass the bar? Well, just one final question, sir, and this one has been prepped. What is your name? My name is Johnny Depp. Objection, hearsay. How can you prove that that's your name? Objection, hearsay. Looks like we win and you are lame. Objection, hearsay. Objection, hearsay.
So that pretty much encompasses the update to the Amber Heard trial as we are on a 10-day break for this trial while the judge goes to some conference. I have now finally caught up with all of the trial, so I have seen it all now.
See the cocaine?
So everybody keeps saying that it's not coke. I am pretty convinced that it is most likely onion oil. If you look at the video, she kind of brushes the top of her brow and eyes before she goes to her nose. I think she's doing that because the first day she was on stand, she couldn't cry tears, and everybody was talking about it online. So I think when she went in the next day to court, she went ahead and gave her some aid to make sure she could work up those tears in that second part of the testifying.
Hey, objection, hearsay, man.
Objection hearsay. Dude, he objected to his own question.
That's
like,
amazing.
I don't think people understand how amusing that is. He literally objected to his own question.
We should get him to be a government lawyer so he can try and defend them for various things in court. Like,
So who would you rather be defended by, this guy or the guy who is the prosecution in the Rittenhouse case?
probably the
Binger wasn't a bad lawyer. Binger wasn't really a bad lawyer.
I don't know.
Binger had a horrible case that he should not have brought in the first place, and he was probably wanting to make it a political trial. But if you look back on his other cases and things, he's not like specifically a horrible lawyer. This guy is making mistakes that I'm just like, it has to just be for money. Like they have to just be being paid so much that they're willing to make themselves look like idiots as lawyers. But there's been some mistakes that I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Yeah, I'd want Binger. Yeah, the truth is, like, Binger is a criminal lawyer, DA, assistant DA who handles a lot of cases.
He
Like,
pointed a gun at the.
oh, he's a fucking retard. I didn't say
Yeah.
he wasn't.
I don't think he was a good lawyer.
I'm
though.
just talking about from a lawyer perspective. I wouldn't take him over Rottenborn.
I don't. The only thing that gets me is like basic gun 101.
Also, they both have the worst names ever. Like, his name is Binger, and the other guy's name is Rottenborn.
Rottenborn.
They neither really spawn confidence.
He got mad at the SCOTUS leak.
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah. So we could talk about some of that. I definitely want to cover it because apparently there's another fucking leak, and I'm like, so the Wall Street Journal received, or the Wall Street Post, or someplace received a second leak that the Republican and conservative justices are standing strong on their votes and not changing, which I'm like, so you still haven't closed up that leak, huh? I think that's less of a leak and more of a hole at this point. Like, when does it become like a sinking ship versus just a leak?
I don't know. They're gonna burn some cities, in my opinion.
So-
But here's the thing: I'm all for.
At least it'll just be blue states.
Yeah. Well, I'm in one, but I'm in a red area. But the interesting thing to me is, all they're saying is, to me, bring it back to the states. And I've argued, let each state decide. I'm pro-life, but if a state wants to do something else.
Yeah, at this point, the Supreme Court, the way I see it from a legal standpoint, they've made the right decision. There's nothing in the Constitution that gives them the ability to base the Roe v. Wade case off of, really. That's just my own.
The only problem is people are not
that.
looking at it like states' rights. They're just looking,
No.
oh my God, they're going to ban.
Because that's how that's how they want people to look at it. They don't want people to talk about states' rights. They want people to talk about abortion.
Not to go like, I'll go mini Alex Jones here, not full. I'm not going to bring up crazy stuff. But to
Abortions are turning the fucking babies gay.
All the crazy stuff turned out to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It seems to me like, okay, we messed up on mandates. We messed up on this. We messed up on the Ukraine thing. We messed up on every possible thing. How could Democrats still stay in power? Oh, let's say they're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. Oh my God. We got to stop these Republicans. And to me, that's kind of like their last-ditch effort. Like, look, Republicans don't want you to have women's health care. That's, to me, what I think they're thinking. It could be that this leak also comes out when Pfizer released a bunch of documents, when there's food processing plants being destroyed, and when there are, and when more aid is being given to Ukraine. So, and inflation keeps going up. So to me, it's kind of like a distraction. Like, two people are arguing over this and everything's on fire. Now, I could be wrong. And 2,000 meals came out too. So why does this leak come out right when all this stuff comes out? I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
So we will go ahead and jump. We're gonna go to the Roe v. Wade stuff. I want to cover this first so we can get some like lighthearted shit out of the way. I guess not lighthearted, but more lighthearted than this.
When keeping it real goes wrong.
Yeah. So I'm looking up the photo of.
What, his mangled, fucked up arms?
Yes.
Looks
I'm
like
looking up the aftermath photo of him getting fucking destroyed by what I would assume was Jamie Foxx. That is the rumor.
I don't know. Like, all I can think is, what the fuck was that guy? I've heard a few different stories, but if you want to play the video, I suppose we could talk about it after. Like, what the fuck happened with this thing?
He didn't say objection, hearsay.
Objection, hearsay. So yeah, we have. I'll play the tackle and then we'll play the aftermath stuff here. I think this doesn't have any audio, so or it'll have audio, but it'll be fairly quiet.
It's a real short video.
The DJ table is one of the most prolific producers that hip hop has ever presented, the mighty Mad Lib. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for hip hop history.
Oh.
This will be the slow motion here.
Boom.
And Chappelle rolls with him. I mean, Chappelle, to give him his credit, he stays up pretty much. I mean, till the very end there.
I am going to kill that.
I am going to.
Wait, I gotta see this.
He just starts walking off stage. I love this. They are fucking that dude up.
Yeah, this is a nerve.
Look around and find out.
You can hear him saying "stomp him." By the way,
It's just stop.
Thank God that was clumsy. He's back there getting stomped.
so he later on said it was a trans man. You know? So we will look at the aftermath of this individual, and let me fucking tell you, the aftermath is aftermath for sure. That's the guy who did it, and we can see that his arm is completely bent around. Your arm does not go that way, in case you don't know. And what looks to be, they beat him so much he turned Asian. I believe is what they said on Flagrant 2, and I believe that is correct. They beat this man Asian.
He looks like Rocky at the end of the fight.
Are all Dave's just awesome? Dude, he fucking... And so the rumor is that this was Jamie Foxx, that he's the one who did it. But if true, fucking great. What I found hilarious was Chris Rock was there. Chris Rock yells, "Was that Will Smith?" into the microphone, like right after it happens. And I was like, Will is like, he can't get away from this shit. Like, he's gonna keep getting fucked.
Gonna haunt him forever.
It's gonna haunt him for the rest of his life. So we will jump into the Supreme Court shit and
Like
some
me
of this.
voting for Bill Weld in 2016.
Oh Jesus! We're gonna jump into the Roe v. Wade leaks. We talked about this literally like an hour after it happened. We were live, so we got to talk about it briefly on the
Take
one
that,
show.
Tim Pool.
Yeah, we got to talk about it then. I want to say night to Shannon. Take it easy. So yeah, we're gonna talk about this, but I want to, I guess, preface it by saying we already talked about the actual initial leak. We're covering now the fact that apparently there's more leaks. Another Supreme Court leak suggests Roe v. Wade is in deep trouble. It has been a while since the political world received a jolt as dramatic as one it received a week ago. It was Monday night when Politico released a leaked draft ruling written by Justice Samuel Alito. In Dobbs v. Jackson, Women's Health Organization, the document was a bold rejection of Roe v. Wade, and if approved by the conservative jurist colleagues, it would turn back the clock in the United States by roughly half a century. That's not really true, but we'll move on from that.
Okay.
So the point is, there is another leak that came out. A person close to the most conservative members of the court said Chief Justice John Roberts told his fellow jurists in a private conference in early December that he planned to uphold the Mississippi anti-abortion law at issue in Dobbs and write an opinion that left Roe and Casey in place for now. But the other conservatives were not interested in an opinion and overturned the precedents, the person said. So there's just continued leaks coming out of the Supreme Court. And I think this brings this argument up as like, we all agree that this is being done strategically. Like, these leaks are not being done on accident. This has got to be somebody either within the court or both political sides have now just decided to start playing ball within the Supreme Court as far as this goes. Like, is it possible the first leak came from a conservative or a liberal justice, and then these follow-up leaks come from a different person with completely? Like that. If that comes out to be the truth, that is going to be hilarious. It's just going to be leak bitch fits back and forth between different Supreme Court justices. Like, I mean, that's kind of what this appears like to me.
Well, more importantly, I think is even if their stuff leaked, people don't understand what they're doing here. And I think that's the issue. People are arguing, do I agree with the procedure or not? I personally don't. But
I'm sorry, but
the problem that they don't see here is if you look, the state.
I'm sorry. I just saw this headline and I couldn't.
What
fucking
the
hold
hell?
it. Can we talk about this? Can we fucking address this? What the fuck? New York Times removes fetus as a Wordle answer following Roe v. Wade leak.
Amazing.
We are living in a fucking clown world.
You ever get that feeling that the simulation's winking at you?
Dude, I'm fucking for real, man.
I'm about to break the matrix, man. I need the red pill.
We're removing English words from a game about English words.
How come I don't get any superpowers like Neo?
If I had superpowers like Neo, I would just start like erasing things.
We could defeat the World Economic Forum. Just me and you just stop there and be
Jesus
like,
Christ.
what?
I am just
Hey, reset them first.
getting rid of fucking Wordle words. And what? So is abortion still a Wordle word? Can you get abortion but not fetus? Is that what we're saying?
Apparently. It's kind of like, to me, again, like getting rid of the Aunt Jemima thing or getting rid of the Land of Lakes. Like, we're trying to progress society. I'm like, these are people who are successful and you're taking them off of their labels. Not only is this not progressing, to me, George Carlin warned about stuff like this, that people are going to become too politically correct.
Yeah.
And they were going to start just making the language super soft. I mean, forget all the social justice. Even before this, people are like, I am 60 years young.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, that doesn't... and just, I'm not... oh, my God.
So we cover. I was gonna cover this.
Oh,
last
they got
week.
caught.
We didn't. They got caught literally like a couple hours before we went live. So it is what it is. But yeah, deputy walks out of the jail. Just takes this gigantic human with her. And then they just take off.
Well, she said that she was like a driver.
Mm-hmm.
She was a transporter, and she was supposed to transport this inmate to, I think, for medical or something. And neither one of them ever showed up. So it was very easy for her to say, I have him. And because...
So she apparently, Vicky White, is currently hospitalized with serious injuries sustained by self-inflicted gunshot wound. So I'm assuming she shot herself, maybe tried to kill herself or something, but
she did.
They fled to Lauderdale County Jail in Alabama. Oh, they fled the Lauderdale County Jail in Alabama on April 29th, and a manhunt ensued. Authorities relied on surveillance footage and tips to catch the suspected prisoner and officer. So I guess what I really wanted to cover this story on was just the kind of the idea that you're safe from police when the cops will literally just walk into the fucking jail and let, like, because this guy, from what I understand, was like a violent criminal. And like this guy had done some fucked up shit. And he's also like 6'7" or some shit. The guy's huge. Like, he's giant. And you just let this guy walk out of the jail with some little blonde fucking old lady cop. Like, just take off. I'm like, yeah, okay, this must make everyone in that area feel real safe. I love a good prison love story. Yeah, I mean, fuck me, right?
Yeah. Maybe he said, hey, we got soup, salad, and breadsticks at Olive Garden. She's like, all right.
Also, they look like the perfect couple, right?
She was his queen.
God.
This is Chris Gaines in a few years when his hair starts going.
Keep
I
trying
for
to
one
tell
look
y'all.
forward. I look forward to the movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe she can hire Binger as their lawyer.
Oh God! If you guys know who Nick Rekieta is, you guys should go listen to the Unbreaded series on his channel. If you guys don't know, I've
like
thought
Damage
about bringing this into the channel, but there's this guy out there called Matthew Harris who wrote this 800-page manifesto. He was a professor and like lecture giver at UCLA. This happened like 5 months ago at this point. The guy ended up writing this 800-page manifesto, threatened a bunch of people, and got arrested and crap. But because of it, there's like this 800-page manifesto where he writes in the most insane crap, and it's all racially charged. It's hilarious. It's pretty funny. But Nick Rekieta reads a page of this every night. By doing a random number generator, and he waits until it's past 2 hours in a stream so he can't get banned for doing it, and it is the funniest thing on the internet right now.
I believe it.
Hey, man.
It's Chris Gaines.
Look at that guy, and then
Emo
look at that
Chris-
guy that just broke out of
He's got
jail.
an audition
It's
for
the-
Nickelback.
Emo
Right?
Chris Gaines has returned.
Emo Chris Gaines is a real freaking thing, and I will. I remind all the Garth Brooks fans that Chris Gaines is a real thing.
Dude,
So before
I don't know.
before you go calling him the greatest, anything, just know
You-
that exists.
You tell me, man. You tell me. Does this look like? Does this look like? Does this look like? This looks like Chris Gaines after he's been in the pen for a few years. I could see it. Chris
It looks
Gaines
like-
got turned out one too many times.
It looks like a methed out Chris Gaines.
Yes.
He somehow got a 1.5 feet taller in the process. Who knew? Who knew doing copious amounts of meth would make you grow taller?
Yeah, it's good for you.
Good for the soul.
The emo Garth Brooks, Chris Gaines stuff is that's fucking so. It's a rabbit hole that's hilarious. Fucking. So I guess getting back to general talk in our space, Reno is just around the corner. And with Reno coming, the Libertarian National Convention, that is obviously a big step, hopefully in the right direction for the LP. The Mises Caucus has been working hard to get that taken care of, and get things underway as far as when Reno takes place to hopefully have Angela McArdle as chair. I would like to see Joshua Smith as vice chair. Start getting some changes made. Trying to get the party running in the right direction. But beyond that, looking at it from now, we're in a much different situation then, right? We're coming up to Reno, but Reno hasn't happened. The current state of the Libertarian Party, to me, is very different than the current state of the Liberty Movement. I think they have to be separated when you talk about the health of them, because the Libertarian Party does not make up the entirety of the Liberty Movement. It just doesn't. And the Liberty Movement doesn't have the organization skills to get real changes done. That's something to me that will hopefully come with the Libertarian Party and having more organization skills within that party. I look at the current state of the Libertarian Party and I am taken aback by how it has been allowed to get to the situation it is at, without even the people who aren't good at running a party to say something. When you're having to take out loans and leases and worrying about whether or not you can keep the lights on as a national party, the third largest party, it is pretty fucking nuts to me. Like, that's insane. I don't know what you guys feel about that, but I guess that's more of what I'm talking about. It's just the health of the movement and then the health of the party currently going into Reno.
Yeah, well, the issue happened was when Ron Paul ran as a Republican. To me, a lot of the liberty-minded people went over there. Now, that was obviously a long time ago in 2012. Not a super long time ago, but then people who weren't principled stayed in there. To me, if you have an organization, this is what I tell all the Beltway guys, fine, you want liberty here and there. I'm not going to say they're completely like against it, but if you don't return back to your principles, to me, that organization's not going to thrive. It'd be like you going to a dojo that teaches Jeet Kune Do, and they're like, we don't care about Bruce Lee. And to me, the people are like, we don't care about Ron Paul or Murray Rothbard or where your movement came from. We just are mad because somebody said something offensive. That doesn't move. Fine, you're mad at someone, message them, take it up with them, but that doesn't move the liberty movement forward. There's been no real push for sustainable, tangible change. And we're going to actually, in Reno, we're going to reset it to get the Ron Paul people back in part of the Libertarian Party, which is just bringing it to principle. They say it's a takeover. To me, it's not necessarily a takeover. We're just returning it back to principle. It's just like kind of like you have a gym that's being run by people who aren't interested in health. They might be nice people, but they need to be they're there to get you physically fit, or at least to help you get more physically fit. So it wouldn't make sense. That's the way I see it. And I particularly think every other party in America and basically in the world is pro-establishment at some level. And we are the only one political party that exists that is not pro-establishment at all in any way. And that's why it's worth fighting for. I mean, if you want to bring this up in the news, I think this is funny. Everybody's like, no, Kareem, Deep State Don is anti-establishment. He is. I'm like, oh, that's why he brought on the CEOs of J&J after one of their products, isn't doing so hot.
Yeah. And what about, I guess, CD, you want to go, and then Mitch, or however?
I was just going to say that all parties have their infighting, whether it's between caucus and party or whatever. But the difference between us and them is that they have had the luxury of time and money to build a wall around them to where the people don't know about the Republican Party as a party. They don't like, and then
we talking like Trump wall or Palestinian wall?
We just can't insulate ourselves. Like we just can't seem to insulate ourselves from.
I just need to know whether I need to bring a rock or a ladder.
Berlin, you're thinking.
Oh, fuck. I forgot Berlin. No.
Something like that. Bring ladders, bring a rock, bring all of it. I'm just saying, I don't think it's like we put all of our stuff out immediately. And so whenever you're asking people to come join your party, and like the first thing that they see on like a Twitter account is you arguing, it doesn't look right, and it doesn't look great, and it doesn't look like anything anybody would want to join. Why should I join you? You people don't have your shit together. I'm hoping that with Angela, it looks a lot more uniform. I'm not really for centralization, but I am for if we're all going to do this, it should be kind of uniform. There should be the same, pretty much the same talking points with the state difference.
So this is something I've actually talked about in like private groups, is the separation of private membership and leading roles within the LP. Affiliates have people who are voted into candidate, positions or offices within the LP that get to make decisions for that affiliate. Those people probably should not be conducting themselves on the internet to other libertarians in a way that is trolling, right? Like, I wouldn't suggest those people to be doing that. Now, you want to troll people outside of the libertarian space, right? You want to go after the GOP, the duopoly type people, or the independents. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that. I also don't know about, as far as enforcement on that, what you can really do as far as bylaws goes, things like that. But regardless, But I think that's not what's happened, because some of the people who are for, say, people within the party not being able to say certain things or troll, do that kind of those actions, they also don't think the general membership should be doing that. And I don't think that's how it works. I don't think you can tell somebody who pays dues to the Libertarian Party what they can and can't post on their social media. And I do think that is brought up by the kind of loser brigade, piece of shit type people within the LP, where they're like, well, you broke the nap because you told me I was a trans person. It's like, well, no, that's not actually how this works. Like that's not what's happening here.
Words are aggression, Leighton.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah. Well, one nice thing is we'll get like
Fucking Brianna Coyle. That's exactly the type of people who make those statements.
yeah, we'll get rid of this like I'm not gonna say they're hardcore lefties, but I always felt there was a left direction kind of in the Libertarian Party. Like, oh, okay, let's appease to BLM, let's do this, you know. And even okay, fine, JoJo made a mistake. I'm not going after her staffer. I don't have a problem with JoJo. What she said about
I do.
Dave Smith is obviously wrong. Yeah, I know you don't like her. I still don't. After 2020, I would still vote the same. That being said, though, there's always this catering to the left, which is good. I don't think catering to the right is good either. But now there's not going to be this subtle catering like, oh, here's a social issue. You have to wave a Ukraine flag. You have to say this is good. You have to be like, you know, you have to support what the establishment is supporting, but just make it light. Now we can actually do our own thing.
Yeah, so I think we're all in a way in agreement on that. I mean, Mitch, I guess, did you say your whole piece or?
No. I was basically just going to say, as far as like the Libertarian Party goes too, and just to kind of piggyback off of what Kareem is saying, I feel like we really need to make ourselves stand apart as libertarians, not really right or left, but you know,
Right.
as on our own leg. We shouldn't really be clout chasing on either side. The problem is when we try to pander to either side, they can sense bullshit. They think they're being deceived
Yeah.
into believing into what we believe instead of actually winning on the merits of an argument. And both sides generally, since they can see that, it doesn't matter if we're trying to pander to the left or right. Either way, it just ends up coming off as hollow.
Yeah, I think this is the value of having. I think this is also the value of having like strong principles, right? And not saying, I think in general this is an issue that I have is like, yeah, I see a lot of libertarians who like to, I guess, side with certain Republicans or Democrats within politics, and I don't do that. Like in general, I just I consider myself to be an ANCAP. I'm not crazy. Like I'm not, there's some of the ANCAP guys who go a little bit off the handle in my opinion. I don't do that, but I look at this and
I
go,
don't
well,
go cash.
fucking Jesus Christ.
Is he even just? I mean, I don't think he even knows who he is or what he is anymore.
I
I
don't
don't think
know.
it's fair to say.
Took some acid. I don't have a problem. Like if Rand Paul grills Fauci, yeah, I like what Rand Paul did. If Rep. O'Connor writes a bill to end Saudi support for Yemen, and he's a Democrat, I'm calling up some boys to call their senators to vote on it. So
Right.
yeah, I'll side. If someone's doing something good, I'll coalition or side with them. Yeah, even if it's a Democrat or Republican, if someone's doing something to further liberty, I think the drug war, making a state a Second Amendment sanctuary, trying to advance liberty in any way, I'll coalition with them just because I have to. And there's not enough of me, libertarians around. That being said, I don't have to adopt their views. I don't have to adopt their talking points. I just have to say, okay, I like this one issue that you're good at, like foreign policy, gun rights, whatever, and then work with them there. And then after you get that done, then that's it. You don't have to adopt anybody's views.
Let's talk about the LNC.
If you were gonna hang on, I want to say something on that. If we were in Congress, either House or Senate, and we had any kind of even close, like 30%, I don't think that's asking a lot. We would have to work with Democrats and Republicans. to do anything. We keep talking about doing shit. Well, you can't do anything without votes. And if you look at Thomas Massey, he will call out and he tweets out everyone that co-sponsors his stuff because he says this is a Republican and this is a Democrat and they're behind this too. And I don't see anything wrong with with appreciating that and working that angle. I think it's funny whenever these libertarians are like, well, we can't do anything with the other two parties, the duopoly. Okay, well, maybe there is. But if you were going to do anything to make progress towards liberty, you still have to get these people on your team. And until everyone can get on board with that, we're just going to keep, chasing a unicorn. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. Not even on your team. I don't want them on my team. I don't want them, even hang out with some of these people. Like, if AOC said tomorrow, I want to end the war on drugs, I'd be like, okay, let's coalition together. But I'm not adopting any of your views. I'm not on your team. I don't particularly like you.
Yeah, so
I wouldn't hang out with
this
her.
is what I'll
But I'll
bring
vote
up.
with her. I'd vote with her.
I think there's a separation between simping for a political candidate and coalition building. Ron Paul believed in coalition building. I believe in doing that. That's a process that you have to do to get votes, to secure candidates, to do that whole process. That is very different in my eyes than the general, I guess, infighting kind of look on things. I don't see it as the same thing. I think the way that we handle different political parties from a party standpoint is coalition building. The way we are going to handle it from a membership standpoint, meaning the messaging, the way people are talking in general, is never going to be that we're going to be out there congratulating Republicans, Democrats on things and talking about how we've helped them do stuff. I just don't see that happening. And I don't think there's anything a chair or vice chair people could do, mainly because the Democrats and Republicans are viewed by, in my opinion, the majority of the Libertarian Party as being the people who caused most of the issues that we are dealing with today. And so their view is they can't really fix it, right? Like, they can't fix the problem they caused. That it's got to be somebody else who comes in and takes care of it. Now, I don't necessarily prescribe to that entirely, but I do think that's a sentiment that a lot of the Libertarian Party has, and not just Mises people, but outside Mises, which does make up a good portion of people, and there's a lot of Libertarians who aren't active within the party that I think feel that way. So I think, and this is what I talked about with, frankly, with on the Swamp Creatures. You guys had on Mike Tremont, who was talking about running for president. And one of the things I brought up was the fact that the guy was previously a police officer. And I actually got a few DMs on Twitter mentioning this to me and asking me, why that's a problem for me. And I'll make it perfectly clear. My reasoning for that is saying simply that if I'm going to trust somebody to make decisions within the LP and message for the LP, which is what you're going to be doing if you're running for high office. That's just what you're going to do. You're going to talk about the Libertarian movement. You're going to talk about the Libertarian Party. You're going to talk about all that stuff at some point. I don't want that person to be somebody who's directly worked for the state in that manner. Because I look at you a tad bit different. Now, people can call me out for saying that, and I have been before. But the fact is I look at that as a principle thing. I think a lot of libertarians are going to look at working with some Democrats and Republicans the exact same way. They're going to go, well, working with you is different from showing support for you.
I mean, that's not the same, though.
No, I know it's not
the
the
same.
Just
described
it's not.
I have friends who are like that. I'll give you a quick story.
You're not wrong. Thinking about it, it isn't an equivalent.
Right.
It's more so what I'm saying is it's going to be difficult getting libertarians in mass within the party, whether we're talking about one caucus or one small group, one big group, doesn't matter, to sign on to the idea of coalition building to the extent of publicly showing support for certain Democrats or Republicans. I think you can do that from a party standpoint, meaning the LNC might put out a statement about this thing, or this group within the party might put out a statement. I don't know if the general members are ever going to do that. I think that's what I'm saying. I think there's a separation between the party and the membership. in
Well,
that
that's
regard.
in every party. That's in every party.
Yeah, but I think we need to
Happens,
not do that. Because I think if we're doing that the same way as every other party, I think we might be putting ourselves in a worse position later on in our growth as a party.
Well, here's the
I mean,
thing.
I think a lot of this
People say
is
that, like,
we
yeah.
don't know. Because again, we are a young party. We don't have the experience on historically to look back on how this party is going to grow. So
Yeah, we have to test things
we
out.
don't know who's going to come in on board. We might find that the left implodes so bad that we have an uptick by 30% in Democrats going, what the fuck are we going to do? And turning over to us and saying, we need to coalition build and help, help us join the Libertarian Party and become part of this movement. That could happen tomorrow. We have no fucking idea. Like, so to me, I look at it and I go, I don't want to be in the future running into the issue where we have a bunch of political adversaries that we're running against, and they can just go, well, 4 years ago, you guys sided with this person who went on to do this stuff, and this guy who went on to do this stuff, which is, I think, kind of the issue we run in with, like, if you had a candidate 20 years ago who ran for office, say as a Republican, and the Libertarian Party put some support behind that guy, because say he supported constitutional carry in whatever state he was running in, he supported a bunch of stuff in that state. And then 10 years later, that guy puts through totalitarian laws in the state, locks it down, puts it into a situation where its economy starts crashing and everybody there hates this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Then our adversaries can point back to our support for that person as a point of contention against our candidates in the future.
I mean,
and that's the principal
anyway.
thing, right? We do that to Democrats and Republicans on a daily basis. We point to the things they supported, right? A Republican candidate will come up and you'll say, you supported the war in Afghanistan, or you supported this conflict that we did. We do that same litmus test to them all the time. Why do we not think that'll be applied to us in the future?
It probably will, but like
It will
eventually you got to get some stuff done.
So I don't disagree. I just think we should be getting ahead of it in that way instead of... I want a uniform response to things, but I want a uniform response from the LP. And I think that the general membership is a different animal because it's just the way it's been handled over the last 10 years by the LP is not.
I think the takeover will actually rectify that and make it a lot more uniform.
I agree with that.
I think the only people who will still be against this are people who are like agorists. Like I was talking to Larkin Rose and the one thing in the chat room, and they were talking about a free society. And I said, he debated Joshua Smith, and I said, okay, guys, I respect all your things. You don't want to do anything to do it. But like, I did vote for Jorgensen. They're like, okay, Kareem, she's a statist. I'm like, I get that, but you agorists talk about like a free society. I'm not against agorists. How do you plan to do that? Like, yeah, you can talk a good game. You can talk about the philosophy. And I used to do that, but how do you actually get from point A to point B?
To be honest with you, the debate over theory is just fucking, it is a hot mess. I don't ever want to get involved with that. It gets to be such a shit show.
Yeah.
This kind of like bickering that goes back and forth about like, oh, well, my version of libertarianism, but that stuff I'm done with. Like, I don't think infighting within the party, that should be annihilated completely.
It's not even that. There's some people like
it's not going to be entirely, but it should be annihilated mostly post Reno. The people who should be infighting are the people who are trying to clamor onto what little bit of fucking leftist shenanigans they want to run in the party. Those will be the only people that will be infighting. Everybody else needs to be focused on growing the party.
And after Reno, the leftists and all the crazies will be out. The only two people I hope to see are the Libertarian Party, Mises Caucus, and the like agorist type people who don't want to vote, don't want to do anything.
Well, I think people have it twisted. I think we're going to see a lot of people pour out of the party post Reno from that angle, the loser brigade angle. I don't think we're going to lose nearly as many people as people think. A lot of those guys are going to stick around and try to cause problems, but eventually that they're going to find that that's not going to work and they're going to move on, and that is what it is. And so it's something where I look at everybody's going to have different ideas post Reno to grow the party. Everybody's going to have different ideas they're going to bring to the table, different strategies they're going to bring to the table. I guess my only 2 cents would be that no one strategy that the LP puts forward is going to be adopted by all of the membership. That's just not going to happen. And so, being that that's the case, we need to figure out a way that all of those ideas can be represented within the party. To me, that works best when everybody's coalition building and doing what CD was talking about. I think it's done worst when you infight from within the party outward, which is what we've been doing for the last 5-10 years, I'd say, within libertarian spaces. Which is, I think people get it twisted. I think it's been going along around a lot longer than people give credit for. There's been infighting within the LP for a long time. I just think the way that infighting is going on, because we're dealing with really fucking dirty individuals who have no fucking no dignity whatsoever, they're gonna bring up some shit that makes it harder to trash against, right? To like debate against or even talk about, and that's something that I just don't want to be involved in. Like I'm not gonna talk about things, which is something that I feel like post Reno might be a little bit of a problem with some individuals, because I know there's some things that people just aren't going to want to talk about post Reno. My point of view is that after Reno, the party will have changed, because there will be different people in charge, and it's going to take about a year for me to see whether or not that experiment is going to be successful.
What does success look like to you?
Growth. Any growth. That's all I need. If the party after Reno, a year after Reno, even was the same size or 5%, 2%, 1% bigger, to me that means we're winning. Because the second you have growth that you can follow up year after year with more growth, then it's just a matter of time. And that needs to be what the party is looking at. It needs to be, listen, liberty in our lifetime is a great idea. It's probably not going to be a thing that takes place. So if the party is, if this life cycle of everybody who's in this libertarian party who is going to be dead 70 years from now, there needs to be something left over for people to pick up on and carry on afterwards. That's how I look at it. It's you can't win on a short time preference with this stuff. We can try, and we need to try all those things. We need to try to win in every fucking space we can. And that's why I said everybody coming together with different ideas and building different coalitions and coming up with new ways of doing this is important, because we've never done it before, right? Like, we're a young party. We don't know. Not we don't know, but we as a party don't have the history to look back on to be able to go, like the Democrats and Republicans have toppled elections and caused all this chaos across the U.S. for a long time. They have this book that they can go back to go, well, we did this back then, so let's do it again, right? We can't do that. We have to just figure this shit out as we go. And I think the LP, with Mises Caucus guidance, with those people behind the reins, will be able to do that. And that's why I've backed them and why I've supported the candidates and why I became an organizer, and all of that was all because I think that that's the successful way to lead the party in a direction that maybe 5 years, maybe 20 years, maybe 100 years from now actually makes a very big lasting difference. And I think that is my priority. Some people have different priorities within the party. I think growth is the single most important thing. You can't do anything without membership, without donations, without people willing to go protest and get their voices out there and things like that. All of that is what makes this successful. And like in the Ron Paul days, like that was what made him successful with bringing a liberty movement, was the grassroots, membership. It was people actually talking about Ron Paul and going out there and spray painting shit and putting up flyers and talking to individuals and door knocking and all that stuff. So I think we need to build a culture within the LP that is about growth, and not only growth within the party, but growth at home. People building up households and getting good jobs and, doing stuff that way. I think that's the one thing the agorists get right. It's like, but they need to take all that and make it part of this movement, not working against it. Would be my perspective.
That's my biggest issue is, I get it. You want to have this free society and you are good at what you do, but how do you get from point A to point B? I don't know how long it will take. It could take 10 years, like you're saying. It could take.
Well, that's my point. I don't think anybody does. Right? Anybody who thinks that this is going to be a thing that takes a year or two, or, we have this party that's moving along and in 5 years we're going to be president, guys, it's great. It's like, well, no, that's just not like, I look at things from a realist perspective. I go, if the economy crashes and people like in 2008 are turning to somebody to look for, and the Libertarian Party can message themselves right, I could see that being a big turning point in our country, where the party starts to get a lot more following because of a big issue that happens in the U.S. Something like an economic crash, a property, the market crash of some kind, which could push people to start paying attention to what some of us have been saying. That's all dandy, and that could happen tomorrow. But we can't really predict it. So I don't want to. Like, I just want to grow the party. And eventually, if we get a way that we can get somebody in a higher office to try to fix some of these things, if we can, then do it. Do it all. But, do whatever you can to grow the party. The ultimate goal to me always has to be continuing to gain membership, because that's how you ultimately make change within a long-term goal, right? I mean, long-term, the best way to convince people of the libertarian movement is to get people into the libertarian movement. It's like, you got to have people. So I guess that's always been kind of my priority, is just the membership and getting more people in,
Well, how do you do that?
You get.
I think events. I think that's one of the biggest things that people have been neglecting. I think there are libertarian events going on, in my opinion, like a big event once every 3 or 4 months, it seems like, somewhere around that ballpark. I think those should be happening monthly, if not every 2 weeks. Because one of the best ways to keep people excited and involved is to keep them doing things and meeting people and shaking hands and talking to individuals. And the LP has got a problem with that, because that doesn't happen very often. And it doesn't happen in states that they don't seem to care about. I'll bring up Alaska, but there's other states too that are smaller affiliates that just don't get attention.
The reason why is because the LP is made up of mainly right now a bunch of autistic people with guns.
Yeah. You're not right. I don't care. But in general, like, look at Florida. Like, to me, Florida is a perfect state where you could be having a monthly event within the liberty space easy. The same, I think, goes for New Hampshire. The same, I think, goes for California to an extent. I think the same goes for Texas. I think the same goes for Colorado, Oregon. I think those states should be holding events, even if they lose money. Figure out a way that you can get donations to make that money up, because ultimately, over time, that's how you build a community within your state of people who want to show up and get things done and talk. And I know we talk about the social club angle, and having events just turns into a social club. Yeah, but that is kind of part of this. Like, you want people to be talking and conversating and having a social life while also building the party. And trying to make some change. To me, you can do all those things at once. We don't have to just focus on one and not the other.
Yeah, and one nice thing is, once we take this
right.
over,
So yeah,
we'll have more
I know
thing.
I've seen a ton of events over in Florida, and going on. I agree with all that. I think my main point of view is just like, the more the merrier, and events that aren't necessarily being put on by the LP. Like, we just talked about how we don't want LP official candidates maybe making certain statements, doing certain things, right? Well, what if you want to throw a big party where you do a bunch of stand-up and stuff like that? That might not be an event you want official candidates going and speaking at. So maybe that's an event you throw with some libertarian podcast speakers, some stuff like that.
Absolutely
and you do it
not.
more geared towards
Absolutely
that.
not. Absolutely not. Why would you spend money on an event?
Oh, no.
Like,
I'm not talking. No. You misunderstood. I'm not talking about the LP doing that. That's what I was saying. I said people. I'm not. This is a separation that I'm talking about. The LP should not be handling things like this. In my opinion, the LP should be
So
If
you're
an
talking about
affili-
like on a cultural level.
Yeah, on a 100%. There's no culture within the Libertarian Party. They don't care about it. They care about politics and they care about checkbooks and donations. And that's not what the general membership is looking for. They're just not.
I was told by a member of the Loser Brigade that libertarians don't have anything to do with culture, and if we do, we're not real libertarians. So I guess we're not real libertarians.
Yeah,
then.
that's retarded. The fact is that we have issues going on in this country that are cultural. I don't think anybody will pretend like that's not the case. It cannot be picked completely. It cannot be fixed entirely through politics.
No. Eric July's
Teaching is one of the biggest things the Libertarian Party has always been involved in, like education, right? Like homeschooling, the Ron Paul Institute, all that stuff. Like, we need to, as the party, not necessarily paying for it, but we need to tell people to be doing that stuff. And the party doesn't. Like, the party hasn't made a statement about telling people to go out and start homeschooling businesses or start pod things in their community for pod learning and make it into a financial business, right? Like the LP, and maybe the LP shouldn't be involved in that. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but from a cultural standpoint, if everybody in the LP who was members were doing better in their lives, as a result, this party would be doing much better. And I don't see the LP doing anything to make that happen.
But here's the thing. You don't need the LP for that. Like, I don't think Eric July is part of the Mises caucus, but like he is active and a lot of people love him. He got my friend who was a hardcore Republican that I worked with. He's like, Cream, I think I'm an anarchist now. I'm like, who got you? He's like, well, I watched Eric July and I really liked his music and I liked his takes and he's into comic books and all this stuff.
Right.
And, even if you go out to play Magic, like I do, I go out to play Magic the Gathering. I'm hitting the guys up and somehow a couple conversations did turn into like we talked about what's going on with the mandates and this. And then he's like, well, these libertarians and the left libertarians. And I started explaining to some people there who are mainly to the left what libertarianism is all about. And they're like, okay, yeah. And I met the Trumpster people and I explained what it is.
Too?
So, yeah, it doesn't have to be LP. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to talk to Angela or Michael Heiss or any of those people. Sometimes it's just as simple as like, hey, I'm going to do something for fun, have a show with Kyle Matovich, and then people come
everybody,
up and like, oh.
Those events for fun, doing stuff for fun, everybody getting involved in stuff for fun. The LP shouldn't be forcing that, but I think they should be letting people know that that's probably a good thing to be doing.
Well, I mean, we're
which
already
they don't
kind
seem
of
to
seeing
even be
that.
doing. Well,
I mean, like recently, like, Robbie Bernstein, like we were talking about doing his back porch comedy thing. He just kicked that off here in Florida.
it's a perfect example. Yeah.
And, like with the caucus, because Robbie's been good with us before, like, we haven't really done anything to like give them funds, but, we at least shouted them out in like the Discord and the group and everything like that, just to let people know that was something going on. I think that's really example. To the extent.
And I don't, I think that, okay, let's take it this way. How many of the people within the Libertarian general membership do you think have decent paying jobs and have a stable home life?
I mean,
like what percentage?
Both?
Yeah, like both of those things at the same time. A good paying job and a stable home life.
I don't know.
I would say, yeah, you're going to probably find that's about 50-50. Like, half the people probably don't have their shit completely together that are members of the party. I don't. I certainly don't. Like, I'm looking at moving. I don't have my financials straight. There's tons of shit going on in my life, right? The Libertarian Party shouldn't be forcing those people to change their lives, but they should as shit be telling them that there's better ways to be doing things, and that those better ways to be doing things within their lives could result in a better liberty movement as a whole, which I think it does. I mean, I look at it as being one and the same. Like, you can't build a political movement and make change without also making change within your own community and understanding that There are better ways to do things, that there are better ways to make money, there are better ways to teach people, there are better ways to do all these different things that I think the Libertarian Party for a long time has neglected.
Yeah,
So I
no,
don't know.
you're
I
right.
mean,
You're
if
right.
anybody disagrees with me now, say your piece.
You're completely wrong, Leighton. All we got to do is just keep wearing Chewbacca
Right.
things and
So
tax.
Patrick this is right what I'm saying, right? 50% of the country doesn't meet that criteria. So our people should be fucking better. Right? We should be the people that they're looking at and going, how come this political party, like 70% of the membership, have good paying jobs and good family lives and are educating their kids outside of the government systems? Like, that should be the way people look at the party, on top of us being a principled political force.
Mhm.
And I don't
How
think
much-
they do on the outside, to the extent that I'd like to see it.
How much middle class do you think there is, Lee? Because it's not there
Not
anymore.
much.
It doesn't
Yeah,
exist
it's
anymore.
almost
So
virtually non-existent.
what you want?
But that's my point. Shouldn't our goal, if we are going to affect any culture at all as a party, which I think we should, I know some people disagree with that completely, but shouldn't our goal to put that on blast, to show people, hey, look, you can live better if you do these right steps and you put these things into effect within your own life, which a lot of the libertarian theory that we talk about all ties into that. Like, if you were to put these things in effect, if you were to live your life this way, you can be better off. You can be
Yeah.
better than the majority of the US that are living under the government system.
But no one wants that. No one wants to hear that from their
Right.
political party.
I don't
Nobody-
think
that-
I
like,
don't think they
people are
want to hear it
fucking
from their
lazy,
political
Lee.
party. I
They
don't
don't
think they
wanna-
want to hear it from their political party. I think they should be hearing it from the membership. The people should just have that, and it should be there, and people should be looking at it
You're
from
right.
the
It
outside.
should, and they should, and you're right. But they don't, and they won't, and they just.
Yeah, but I think that's what
they
we
live
have
in
to
a
grow
box.
with the party.
That-
I think
that-
if you're going to grow the party, why not grow that at the same
You have
time?
way too high of expectation for these people.
Yeah.
Just because they're libertarians doesn't make them any smarter than a Democrat or Republican voter. I'm here to
At
tell
least
you.
they know-
The
at least-
libertarians, registered libertarians, will still flip a fucking coin before they walk in and vote, and that's how
So
they vote.
I don't
They're gonna
disagree with
vote
you.
so I'm just saying, you can't expect these people to be like us. That's why we are the leaders of the party, and the membership is not. And so
Okay.
the membership needs 4 bullet points. That's it, 4. And if they can get those 4 bullet points down, and that's what they spread, that is how you grow the party. It's not with it. You can live your life better if you hang out with us, because that they don't believe that, and they will
That's not what
never
I'm putting
believe you.
forward.
Well,
I'm not putting that
we can
forward.
do both. We can
I-
do both and see what happens.
I'm putting forward the idea that things like financial independency, things like the post-libertarians have talked about this a lot, and they are right on some of this. I'll give them credit for it. The fact is, if more libertarians were financially stable, were in better positions of self-governance over their own lives, and things like that, I think we would look much more appealing as a party. And I think as we grow our political prowess and grow this party from a political standpoint, it seems stupid to me to not be at least attempting to grow it from the other angle. I would argue that when you look at membership, I don't disagree with you. Somebody who's affiliated libertarian, like on their voter registration card, the majority of them, you're right. But if you pay dues to the LP, if you are a paying member and you are at least semi-active, my guess is you'd at least be accepting to hear some of those ideas. Maybe not all of them, but maybe some of them. There's certain people within the membership that would hear more about pod learning and learn more about that, or learn about all education, different education routes. There's people within the LP membership I think would love to hear about more financial side of things and how they could better themselves in that manner. And I don't necessarily think the LP or an affiliate needs to be the one doing that. But for instance, like, okay, if the LP is throwing an event in, say, Florida, right, and you're going to hire 4 people to come out and speak at the event, you're going to pay them, right? And you've got 3 libertarian speakers that are coming out to talk. You got your Tom Woods and your whoever, right? Could one of those speakers be somebody who's there specifically to talk about how you can make more specifically in that state per hour at a job, or how you could be raising your kids in a different education system if you haven't already. And could you market it as an event where you're going to have somebody there talking to new members that way and bringing them in, and old members, and talking to them about how they can do things better at home and with the political movement.
Is the stage gonna have pyrotechnics? Because that sounds like the most boring day ever.
Well, I don't think it has to be boring. If you had a person who, because I'll be honest with you, I was sat down 3 or 4 years ago and told to get out of the restaurant industry. The guy who told me to get out of that industry sat me down and explained to me exactly why I wasn't ever going to make any money in that industry the way that I was working. And he was 100% correct. And him telling me that, I listened, I changed the way that I was living, and I make more money now because of it. If somebody can do that with LP members, with people who are part of the libertarian movement or part of the liberty movement as a whole, and that makes the party healthier as a result, I think that's a net positive. And so I just think it's whether or not it's worth exploring from a libertarian perspective, whether culture is something we should even be fucking with.
Well, I'm here to tell you that no one. I mean, we know who Tom Woods is, but if Tom Woods is coming to talk about how to save your money or spend your money,
I wouldn't. I'll be first one to say I wouldn't have Tom Woods be the one giving that speech.
Thank God.
Yeah.
But
that's what I mean by somebody not boring.
But that comes, okay.
Because that does come across as a little bit too boring for some people. And that's not a jab at Tom. That's just, in general, normies are not going to take that well. New members to a party are not going to take that.
The reason why that works is because those people that come and talk like that have credibility and people know who they are. And so the only way to get credibility is to have, like, really fun events that are not, that people... I would almost want people to like forget that this is like put on by.
I agree with you. That's 100% what I'm talking about, though. Like, you don't have to hire a libertarian to give that speech. You can give somebody that's known in your state or community, that's known as being somebody who gives work seminars, stuff like that. There's lots of, like, for instance, in Alaska, we have a native person who goes around and gives talks to a bunch of the different native political groups on how they can get higher paying jobs when they move into the different city areas. That person who does it, when they go to the event and put it on, I've been to one of them, it is literally like a party. Like they do it in the middle of a mixer almost, right?
Yes.
That makes it so that everybody is more susceptible to it. They're listening to the people. They're talking back and forth. It doesn't feel like some stoogey event. I'm not talking about that at all. Okay. That would fail flat on its face because that's what we've been doing. Like, it hasn't been working.
I don't know if you guys have ever been to an LP event.
Oh, they're not fun. Like, they're not fun at all.
It is the wonkiest. Like they might as well have brought out animatronics.
It's 7 hours of talking.
Chuck E. Cheese.
It's hours of awful. Talking. It's awful.
So
and shitty alcohol.
I would never bring a new person there. Like,
no,
I would
exactly.
never bring a new person there.
What I want to do is change that culture. Right? I want to change the culture within the party that says that we shouldn't be having newbies come to those events. We should be. We should be able to have those people come to those events. We should change the way those events are taking place so that it's an event they want to go to. And that you could tell them, hey, what you might learn here isn't just how to be politically active. It's how to be socially active, how to live in a world where you understand that libertarianism is real. And that our ideas are good, and that we're trying to fix this. We all talk about that after you become libertarian, you look at the world a little bit differently. And you look at the things around you a little bit differently. Like, when somebody's on the news talking about the economy, like, or something like that, or somebody on the street you're crossing is talking about something and you pick up on it, your brain has a different way of thinking about it. Because we have taught ourselves that this is not correct. The way that we've been taught from the duopolist standpoint is incorrect. So
men can't get pregnant?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
that. But so my point of view is like, yeah. So in the same way that takes place, we need to do it with events. We need to do it with all of that. We need to be changing the way that people look at us. Because right now we are looked at as the stoogey, talk for 7 hours in an event, get nothing done party. And I think we should be the inviting, teach people how to live, get political change to happen party.
Mhm.
And I think 10, 15 years from now, our party would be in a much better position if we did things like that. I don't think me and CD actually disagree here. We probably just disagree on how I don't think we even disagree on how a libertarian event should look. I think we just probably disagree on
Gotta
the
have fun.
membership communication between the two.
I just don't see, that they're looking for you to tell them what to think.
Right. I don't disagree with you.
So okay, so they and most of them don't want to get involved. Like they don't. They just they want
Right,
to come
but
to
if the
events
ones that
and-
do, if the ones
Okay.
that do, and the events were changed in a way that the people that did come did feel like they could actually do something like that, do you think the outcome of cultural change within the party would be positive or negative?
well, positive.
And I guess this follow-up would be, do you think it's worth the LP expending any resources post-Reno on that? Or do you think it's something that should be backburnered completely?
No, I absolutely think it should be, the party committee, whatever, the events coordinator,
okay,
whatever.
yeah.
Like they should.
That's all I'm asking
and
for.
so
I just
so
want
think,
somebody trying to plan this with some kind of like
I
organization skills
really
that's
do
not a
think-
potato.
I feel like it will come down to the counties in the state, because you're going to have some that are bigger, and I do
Right.
think that the ones who are bigger with a bigger base with a higher amount in their account, like those people should be putting stuff on, should be using it for that.
Small
I
states,
would
it's definitely a little bit different. I would agree with you there. It's
and so I'm not saying,
But
like,
also, like-
Wyoming should be
Right.
the one to throw the party.
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
But like Florida, New Hampshire, California, those states, they're
Colorado,
Colorado, yeah, this is a perfect
that-
example.
that way
it's
people
like-
people
yeah.
can go, but yeah, I don't think it's incumbent on the LP to necessarily fund that stuff.
I would agree with you there too. I don't think it's something the LP should be taking care of in that way. I think it's something maybe they should do it first to get people moving, but I think people could build businesses around it. And I think that's what the LP should really be telling people is build a business around throwing events in this state and we will help you do that.
Okay.
Like and that to me would solve this problem. I talked about in my state when I ran for city council here about the fact that the city is the one that hires the trucks to do the road. They're the ones that have the unions. They're the ones that have all these things, so they're all interconnected, right? Like the LP can't fall into the trap that other political parties do, where they do everything. And everything runs through the LP, and there's no grassroots movement whatsoever. Like the Libertarian Party, I don't think we'll ever get that way, but they can't. Like we can't allow it to come to that place. And I think that doing that, having some exposure there, telling people, hey, build a business around this, or do this in this state because it will help and you're going to be able to better yourself, is a better way for us to be doing things than just paying into it completely.
Or set up OnlyFans with Chris Gaines pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And then drive traffic to it.
Hey, man, make the real fucking money.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, this has been a fun show. We had
Yes.
some good conversations, a little bit of
But we're not gonna. Why don't you do a tutorial how to make an OnlyFans?
So we will go ahead and talk to you guys in the next episode. I hope you guys are doing all right. And